the hidden link between brain fog, skin breakouts, and your gut wellness geeks.
I was just thinking about this quiet contradiction that so many of us just kind of live with every day, where you feel like you're doing everything right, but your body is still sending these strange, really gentle distress signals.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. It is so incredibly common.
Right, like you just get this heavy brain fog in the middle of the day that will not lift. Or you get a sudden skin breakout out of nowhere, or your joints just feel stiff. And I never understood why those specific things happen when you actually feel totally fine otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, that feeling is just deeply frustrating because you end up chasing these random body signals, right? You
Yeah.
try a new face cream or you just drink more coffee to push through the mental haze.
Which honestly never works.
No, it
Mm.
really never does because we are just entirely missing the root cause. We just sort of ignore our body signals under all the daily work pressure. We think pure willpower will fix it, or we feel guilty if we actually stop to rest.
Oh, the guilt is so real.
Right. And, sometimes even your family does not take it seriously. They just say, oh, you just need to relax a bit more, or it's all in your head.
Exactly. And you start to wonder, what if I am missing something huge? Like, what if the root of all that noise is actually coming from somewhere completely different? I mean, I have been sitting with this idea that right now, as we just sit here having tea, there could literally be microscopic food particles floating through our bloodstream.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a heavy thought.
And our bodies are just treating them like foreign invaders. It is just such an alarming image, but also deeply fascinating because it connects back to our gut health.
It really does. And it completely shifts how you view the whole body. I mean, for the longest time, people just assumed the skin, the brain, and the joints were completely separate things. Like, if your skin acts up, you only look at the skin.
Which makes sense on the surface.
Sure, it does. But what we are really learning through shared body wisdom is that all these completely unrelated areas are actually tied together by what is happening deep inside your digestive tract. This whole idea of a leaky gut.
Right. And I really want us to unpack what that actually means today, because we hear the phrase leaky gut tossed around, but I want to look at how a physical gap in your digestion might be the hidden root cause of all those mystery issues.
I love that. Let's really dive into it.
So to start visualizing this, I always kind of picture the gut lining like a bouncer at a really exclusive club.
Oh, that is a great way to look at it.
Right, like this bouncer has
Yeah.
one very vital job. He stands at the velvet rope and he lets the good stuff, like the nutrients, the VIPs inside, and he keeps all the troublemakers, the toxins, the bad bacteria, the undigested food out on the street.
Exactly.
But I keep wondering what happens when that bouncer just falls asleep on the job.
Well, you get absolute chaos inside the club. But to really grasp how that protective barrier breaks down, I feel like we first have to understand just how incredibly fragile the barrier is by its very design.
Fragile, I would think it needs to be tough.
You would think so.
Yeah.
But your gut lining is made up of these specialized cells. And here is the thing that usually stops people in their tracks when they first hear it. That entire barrier, the literal wall separating the chaotic digestion from your sterile blood, is only one cell thick.
Wait, let me stop you right there. One cell thick.
Just one single cell.
You are telling me that our primary defense against the outside world, against everything we swallow, is the thickness of a microscopic soap bubble. Why on earth would our biology build us to be so incredibly vulnerable? It just sounds like a massive design flaw.
I know it does sound like a flaw. But when you look closely at body wisdom, you realize it is an inescapable trade-off.
How?
Well, that barrier has to be impossibly thin. I mean, if your gut lining were thick and durable, like the skin on the bottom of your foot, you wouldn't be able to absorb a single nutrient from your food.
Oh, right. The food couldn't pass through.
Exactly. The vitamins and the minerals would just bounce right off. You would literally starve to death with a full stomach. So we have this delicate single layer of cells. And to keep things secure, these individual cells are held together by something called tight junctions.
I kind of picture that like the mortar between bricks in a wall.
That is a beautiful way to visualize it. When your digestion is happy and calm, these gatekeeper proteins act like very smart doors. They open just a tiny bit to let a digested nutrient pass through, and then they instantly snap shut.
Making sure only the VIPs get in.
Right. But when those tight junctions loosen up and fail to close, the entire gut becomes porous. It becomes leaky.
And the bouncer has officially left the door wide open.
Precisely. And through those tiny, unnatural gaps, things that were never meant to see the inside of your bloodstream begin leaking in. We are talking about large, partially digested food proteins. We're talking about Cell debris from bad bacteria.
Like toxic shrapnel just floating around.
That is exactly what it is.
Mhm.
And when that toxic shrapnel leaks into the blood, it triggers an immediate, massive reaction from your body's defense systems.
Okay, so the wall is breached. The shrapnel is in the blood. Here is where I really need to connect the dots, because how does a tiny microscopic leak in your stomach cause problems in a completely unrelated part of your body?
It is a great question.
Because honestly, if my gut is leaking, I would expect to have a severe stomachache. I wouldn't expect my knees to ache or to get a breakout on my chin.
To understand that leak, we kind of have to look at where your immune system actually lives. It is a staggering reality, but roughly 70 to 80% of your entire immune system is stationed right there in your gut.
Wait, really? 70 to 80%?
Yeah, almost the whole army.
I always thought it was in the blood or the lymph nodes, but the vast majority is just sitting in the digestive tract.
It has to be,
Hmm.
because that one cell thick wall is your most vulnerable border.
Hmm.
The body stations its largest army right at the weakest point of the fortress.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
So when those leaked particles slip past the wall and enter the blood, that massive immune army flags them as invaders. It panics, and it launches a massive alarm response inflammation to neutralize the threat. But here's the kicker.
What's the kicker?
That inflammation does not just stay neatly confined to your stomach. Those alarm signals enter your blood flow. They travel everywhere.
So it's kind of like a faulty fire alarm system.
Yes, exactly.
Like, say a small grease fire starts in the kitchen oven, but instead of just the kitchen sprinklers turning on to put it out, the whole house system goes haywire. The sprinklers in the living room start going off and the ones in the bedroom.
In the garage.
Right. And you are standing there getting soaked in the living room, which in this case is your skin, showing up as a breakout. And you are completely confused about where the fire actually is because the living room was perfectly fine.
That is the perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And the immune system doesn't know how to turn those distant sprinklers off as long as the kitchen fire keeps burning. So you end up with sprinklers going off in your joints, causing these strange migrating aches.
Which people just write off as getting older.
Which is such a sad thing we accept. And it goes even deeper. Pioneers in this space have proposed that for any autoimmune issue to develop, you actually need three things. You need a genetic trait, an environmental trigger, and a leaky gut.
Wow. So the gut is the gatekeeper for all of it. But what about the mental aspect? The brain fog. How does a leaky barrier make me forget where I put my keys or feel like I'm thinking through molasses?
So this brings us to the gut-brain connection. Your gut has this massive, complex network of nerves. It is so intricate that it is often called the second brain, and it communicates directly with your actual brain via a massive nerve highway.
Like a high-speed fiber optic cable.
Exactly. It's a two-way street. When your gut wall is porous and all those alarm signals are flooding the area, that communication network gets completely disrupted.
So the inflammation is essentially creating static on the telephone line.
Yes. The brain receives these constant low-grade distress signals from the gut. The brain interprets this static as a state of sickness, and it literally slows down your mental processing to conserve energy.
And that static is exactly what we feel as brain fog.
It is.
It makes complete sense when you lay it out like that. But there is one thing I am still hung up on. If there are physical gaps in my digestive tract, why am I not doubled over in pain after I eat?
Right, the lack of stomach pain.
Yeah. How can someone have absolutely terrible brain fog or joint pain, but have a perfectly calm stomach?
You have hit on the exact reason why this is so often overlooked. Many people with a highly porous gut have zero obvious digestive signs. No bloating, no cramps at all.
That is so wild to me.
Their body's stress response has entirely migrated elsewhere. This is why a person ends up going to a skin clinic for their stubborn rashes, or asking for stronger medicine for their joint aches, without ever even thinking to look at their gut.
So treating the skin with creams or the brain with more coffee is completely missing the root cause. It's like mopping the floor while the sink is still overflowing.
That is exactly what it is. And for a long time, if you brought this up, people would kind of roll their eyes. But now, when you look closely at the body, we know this is a physiological reality. It is measurable.
And when people finally realize this is real, I think they immediately assume the fix is going to be impossibly hard. I know I did. You assume you need an incredibly expensive, highly complex routine of fancy supplements to patch up this microscopic wall.
It's a very common fear, but the lived experience points in the exact opposite direction. You really cannot out-supplement a lifestyle that is actively destroying your gut barrier.
Which brings me to the most hopeful part of all this. I always assumed that once your gut is leaky, the tissue is just scarred forever, like the
Uh,
damage is done.
oh, that is the most profound misunderstanding of our biology. Remember those lining cells we talked about? The ones that make up that fragile one-cell thick wall?
Yeah, the delicate ones.
They have one of the fastest turnover rates in your entire body. They naturally die off and replace themselves every 3 to 5 days.
Hold on. Every 3 to 5 days, your body is basically constructing a brand new biological wall twice a week.
Yes. The digestive lining you have right now is literally not the same lining you had last Tuesday. The gut has this massive, rapid built-in capacity for healing.
Wow. But wait, we have to follow the logic there. If the gut lining naturally replaces itself completely every few days, then if someone has a chronic leaky gut, meaning they've had these issues for months, it means they must be actively tearing the wall down as fast as their body can rebuild it.
That is the hard truth, yes.
They are actively swinging a wrecking ball at the newly laid bricks every single day. So what exactly are the daily habits acting as these wrecking balls?
Well, there are a few main ones that we encounter all the time. The first major one is high sugar. Sugar aggressively feeds the yeast and bad bacteria living in your gut. When those populations explode, they crowd out the good guys that protect the wall.
So the bad guys just take over the club.
Exactly. Another massive trigger is our modern convenience foods.
Yeah.
We eat so much out of packages now.
Right, while staring at screens, eating late at night.
And those packaged foods are full of fake binders and chemical additives. Think about what dish soap does to a greasy frying pan.
It strips the grease right off.
Right, it breaks down the barrier so it washes away. Well, these artificial food additives do the exact same thing to the protective layer of your gut. They act like a harsh soap, washing away the protective mucus and leaving those delicate cells totally exposed.
Oh, wow. That is a terrible image. They're literally stripping the paint off the walls.
They really are.
And there was a tragic irony I noticed, too, regarding painkillers, like over-the-counter pain pills. People have this mysterious joint pain, which we now know is often downstream of a leaky gut. So what do?
They take a pain pill to get through the day.
Right. They take pills every day to manage the pain so they can just function at work. But those common pain pills are actually one of the primary things that break down the gut barrier. They are effectively pouring gasoline on the exact fire they are trying to put out.
It is a devastating cycle. You take a pill to stop the joint pain, the pill damages the gut wall, more toxic shrapnel leaks into the blood, and your joint pain gets worse a week later.
It just breaks my heart how many people are stuck in that loop.
And all of these physical triggers tie directly into what is perhaps the most heavily underappreciated wrecker of the gut lining, and that is chronic stress.
I always thought stress just gave you an upset stomach, maybe some butterflies. How is it physically tearing down a cellular wall?
It comes down to cortisol, your main stress hormone. It is designed for acute, survival-like running from danger. When cortisol spikes, your body instantly pulls blood flow and energy away from your digestion and shoves it all into your muscles.
Because digesting lunch doesn't matter if you're running for your life.
Exactly. But today, we aren't running from predators. We are stressed all day about emails and traffic. We only go to the doctor in an absolute emergency. We skip rest out of pure guilt.
So your gut is constantly deprived of the blood flow it needs to heal.
Yes, you can have a flawlessly clean diet, but if you are under severe, unrelenting work pressure, you can measurably damage your gut wall.
So if we are constantly swinging these wrecking balls, sugar, soapy chemicals, pain pills, stress, how do we stop? How do we give the body the mortar it needs to actually patch these holes? Let's talk about the rebuilding. How do we support that amazing 3 to 5 day healing cycle?
It starts with giving the workers the right raw materials. One of the clearest targets we have learned is to aim for 30 or more different plant varieties a week.
Okay, I have to jump in here because the first time I heard the rule of 30 plants a week, it sounded completely overwhelming.
It sounds like a full-time job.
It sounds like you have to eat 30 giant salads. But I love how we can reframe this concept. It's not about eating 30 heads of cabbage.
Yeah.
A tiny sprinkle of oregano on your eggs counts as 1 point. A spoonful of flaxseed hidden in your smoothie counts. Eating a single blackberry counts.
That is the perfect way to look at it.
It's not a grueling, miserable restriction. It's actually an additive process. It's more like collecting easy points in a video game to hit a high score.
I love that reframe. The reason variety matters is that different plant fibers feed entirely different strains of good bacteria. A diverse gut is a resilient gut. When you feed these diverse bacteria, they produce a magical energy source that feeds your gut cells.
It's like giving the bouncer at the club a raise and a strong cup of tea.
Precisely. You are empowering the barrier. Another beautiful strategy for rebuilding is enjoying naturally fermented foods daily. We're talking about simple things like sauerkraut, kimchi, or kefir.
Things our grandparents used to eat all the time.
Exactly. You aren't just feeding the bacteria you are actively bringing in fresh, highly beneficial reinforcements to protect the wall.
And I feel like it isn't just about what you are putting in your mouth, but the physical habits of how you eat, like the importance of just chewing your food thoroughly, which sounds so painfully basic, but it makes perfect sense.
It really does.
If you inhale your food while staring at your phone, those large, sharp, unchewed particles hit the stomach and act as physical irritants. They literally scrape against that delicate, one-cell thick wall.
And you have to protect that wall's invisible shield, which is the mucus layer, which means hydrating consistently is just non-negotiable. If you are dried out from too much coffee, that mucus thins out, leaving those fragile cells totally exposed.
And finally, we have to talk about managing the cortisol wrecking ball. Because you can't just quit your job or escape to the woods, but deliberately managing stress, even just taking 10 minutes of deep belly breathing a day, sends a powerful physical signal to your body that you are safe.
It really does. It lowers the cortisol enough to allow blood flow to return to the gut so it can actually utilize those 3 to 5 days to heal.
It just proves that we are not at the mercy of our body signals. Small, ordinary habits make such a massive difference.
They absolutely do. Take a friend of mine, for example. She was battling this really stubborn skin acne and a bizarre, heavy ache in her hand. She had given up dairy, she gave up coffee, and nothing changed.
Because she was looking in the wrong place.
Right. Finally, she pivoted entirely to the gut connection. She stopped swinging the wrecking balls. She cut out the packaged foods full of fake binders. Then she gave her body the mortar. She added fermented foods, prioritized her sleep to rest her body, and started taking a gentle, tech-free walk after dinner to manage her daily stress.
And let me guess, the symptoms shifted.
Within a few months, the skin breakouts completely calmed down. The joint heaviness faded away entirely. What's so crucial is that she didn't do anything extreme. She simply stopped tearing the wall down and supplied her body with the basic materials to rebuild it.
That is just incredibly empowering. So to bring this all full circle, the core truth here is that a leaky gut is not some abstract idea. It is a very real physical mechanism that connects our fast-paced modern habits, our stress, our rushed meals, our lack of true rest to widespread body confusion.
Yes, it perfectly explains why the fire alarm is going off in your skin, your joints, and your brain, even when your stomach feels completely fine.
But the most beautiful takeaway is the sheer resilience of our biology. Your gut is constantly, tirelessly renewing itself. Every few days, you get a new lining. You are never physically stuck. Your wellness isn't some fixed destination. It's an ongoing direction you choose daily through small, gentle habits.
I could not agree more. If you've been dealing with mystery skin issues that won't fade, or an unshakable mental haze that makes it hard to focus, looking gently at the health of your gut barrier might be the exact missing puzzle piece you've been searching for.
It's just a totally different lens to view yourself through.
It is. And it raises a truly fascinating thought as we sort of wrap up our time today. Something gentle for you to mull over in your own life. We've established that the gut environment is incredibly complex.
Right. The army is stationed at the border.
Well, what we are learning now is that those microscopic gut bacteria actually have their own distinct daily rhythm. They have a biological clock, just like your brain does. They expect to rest at certain times and work at certain times.
Okay, wow.
So if our internal army and our gut bacteria operate strictly on a daily biological clock, could the simple timing of when we choose to eat be just as critical for maintaining our immune defense as what we actually put on our plates?
Now that is a truly provocative thought to leave on. Because it means the bouncer at the club doesn't just care about who is trying to get in. He actually cares deeply about what time they are showing up. And if they show up too late, when he's supposed to be sleeping, he might just leave the door unattended. Keep that body wisdom in mind the next time you feel a bit disconnected from yourself.
These thoughts, these questions, they don't have to stop here. Wellness Geeks has many more podcasts and videos just like this one. Subscribe to the channel and explore other episodes. They all flow the same gentle way. If this podcast felt genuinely useful to you, share with even one person in your life. That one share can bring a real change in someone's life, and it helps Wellness Geeks reach more people who truly need this. If this brought you real value, look for the Join button right next to the Wellness Geeks logo below this video. Click it and become a member of the Wellness Support Circle. Your support helps Honest Health Awareness reach thousands who are silently struggling. Wellness Geeks moves forward because of you. Thank you so much from the heart for being here.